Enter a world where reality warps and fear feels familiar. Each eerie tale blurs the line between nightmare and truth, inviting you to explore the strange, the supernatural, and the psychologically twisted. Dim the lights and take a glimpse into madness. Thirst comes in many forms. Some crave power, others wealth, but the most dangerous thirsts are the ones that can never be quenched. Tonight, we present a tale of addiction that transcends mortality itself, a cautionary reminder that even monsters have their vices in this chilling glimpse into madness. Serena Vale stared at her reflection in the coffee shop window, adjusting her jet black lipstick with practiced precision. The October wind whipped crimson leaves against the glass, like blood spatter at a crime scene. She smiled at the thought. Life as a barista at the daily grind was exactly that, a grind. Every day, the same parade of normality. Soccer moms ordering pumpkin spice lattes, college students glued to laptops, business types barking orders without looking up from phones, and Serena, with her Victorian morning jewelry, black lace gloves, and carefully applied corpse pale foundation, stood behind the counter like a Gothic portrait misplaced in a Target commercial. "You need to smile more," her manager often told her. "I'll smile at your funeral," she'd reply, which never went over well. The clock ticked toward closing time. 10 minutes to freedom. 9, 8. The bell above the door jingled, and Serena didn't bother hiding her exasperated sigh. Late customers were the worst customers. "We're closing," she called out without looking up from cleaning the espresso machine. "I won't take much of your time." The voice was rich, cultured. British? No, something older. Serena turned. He stood tall and elegant in a vintage black suit that wasn't a costume. His hair was swept back from a widow's peak, so perfect it belonged in a Victorian anatomy textbook. His skin was alabaster, not the cheap makeup kind like hers, but the real kind, the kind that hadn't seen sunlight in centuries. "We're out of pumpkin spice," she said, immediately hating herself for the banality. He smiled. His teeth were interesting. "I've never understood the appeal," he replied. "I was hoping for a cup of something red." Serena's hand froze on the counter rag. "We have hibiscus tea," she offered. "That will do." He placed a $20 bill on the counter. "Keep the change, Miss Vale." "Dorian LeClaire at your service." He bowed slightly, an actual bow, and Serena felt a flutter of something long dormant. Wonder. Possibility. The promise of something actually interesting in her tedious existence. She brewed the tea with shaking hands and slid it across the counter. Dorian didn't touch it. Instead, he leaned forward, his eyes catching the light strangely. "I find myself in need of assistance, Miss Vale. Someone to manage certain dietary needs. Someone to maintain my residence during daylight hours. The compensation is generous." Serena blinked. "Are you offering me a job?" Dorian smiled slightly. "I am." "As what? Your personal shopper? Your housekeeper?" Dorian's smile widened, revealing teeth that were definitely not standard human issue, more like my partner in crime. The smile impossibly widened further. Serena should have been afraid. She should have called the police or screamed or run. Instead, she felt a thrill run through her that made her multiple skull rings seem childish by comparison. When do I start? Dorian's mansion was everything Serena had doodled in her high school notebooks. Gothic spires, gargoyles, stained glass that turned sunlight into bloody kaleidoscopes across marble floors. This place is, she struggled to find the right word, excessive? Dorian suggested, hanging his coat on an antique rack that looked suspiciously like human bones. "Perfect," Serena breathed. The job was simple enough. Keep the place clean, draw the blackout curtains before sunrise, and most importantly, help Dorian feed. "I have certain restrictions," he explained that first night, lounging in a high-backed chair that might well have seated Vlad the Impaler himself. "I can't stomach the sober anymore." Serena raised an eyebrow. "Come again?" "My palate has evolved. I require blood with a certain proof." He swirled a glass of something dark and viscous. "The ethical vampire's dilemma? I need my meals pre-marinated. The taste of sober blood repulses me." She raised an eyebrow. "You only like drunks?" "The drunker, the better." Serena laughed, then stopped when Dorian didn't join in. "You're serious?" "Deadly." He set down his glass. "Never drink around me, Serena. Bad things happen when I smell bourbon on someone, especially when I haven't fed." She nodded slowly. "That shouldn't be a problem. I don't drink. Never have." She shook her head and chuckled a bit as she processed the reality that she was now employed by an alcoholic vampire. It was ridiculous. It was dangerous. It was the most interesting job she'd ever had. Their routine developed quickly. Each night, Serena would transform herself from merely Gothic to gloriously Gothic. Corsets tightened to wasp-waisted perfection, eyeliner sharp enough to draw blood, and lipstick as black as a raven's heart. Then she'd haunt selected bars about an hour before closing time. Her target was always the same, the drunkest man in the place, the one whose glazed eyes suggested he wouldn't remember the next hour, let alone notice what was about to happen to him. Another drink? She'd purr, sliding into the seat beside him. They always said yes. They always followed her outside, stumbling toward promised pleasures in dark alleys. And they never saw Dorian coming. It was clean. It was careful. It was choreographed like a macabre ballet, until it wasn't. The blue moon closed down. Serena tossed her purse onto an antique fainting couch after another failed hunting trip. That's the third this month. Dorian paced the library, fingers trailing across leather-bound books he wasn't reading. And the drunken sailor? She shook her head. Police cruiser parked outside. They're investigating that investment banker from last week. He flicked a nearly invisible speck of dust from the shelf. The one with the appalling cologne? I did everyone a favor. Serena peeled off her platform boots. The police disagree. She paused for a moment. We're running out of options. Dorian's pacing quickened. Since when did this town become so puritanical? She shrugged her shoulders. We could move? The suggestion did not sit well with Dorian. Do you have any idea how complicated it is to relocate a century's worth of possessions and 3 coffins? The deposit on a moving truck alone, a crystal decanter shattered in Dorian's grip. He stared at his bleeding hand with surprise, then licked the wound with disturbing enthusiasm. You're hungry, Serena observed. An understatement. That night, she heard noises from the basement. Snarling. Scratching. Things breaking. In the morning, Dorian was nowhere to be found. His coffin was locked from within. By evening, when he emerged, his usual elegant demeanor had slipped. His hair was disheveled. His skin seemed sickly. The sparkle normally in his eyes had faded. No luck tonight? He asked, voice too desperate and sad. Everything's closed for some local holiday. She shrugged. How inconvenient for us both. A week passed, then 2. Dorian missed feeding after feeding. His hands began to shake. His smile became fixed and terrible. The witty, sardonic vampire was disappearing into something older, hungrier. Then came the night. Serena woke to find him standing in her bedroom doorway. In one hand, he held a bottle of bourbon. In the other, a crystal glass. I thought we might have a nightcap, he said. His voice was ragged at the edges. Serena sat up slowly. I don't drink, remember? One drink won't hurt anyone. He stepped into the room. You look stressed, Serena. Exhausted from our failed hunts. It'll take the edge off. Maybe give you inspiration. He poured amber liquid into the glass. The splash sounded obscenely loud in the quiet room. Hemingway did his best work after a few drinks, he continued, approaching the bed. And then he blew his brains out with a shotgun, she said, completing the story. Just a sip, to relax. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. This wasn't Dorian the sophisticated vampire aesthete. This was something else, something desperate. I'm fine, she said. Come now, Serena. His smile was wrong. Too wide, too many teeth. Don't you trust me? The next day, while Dorian slept, Serena searched the mansion. Behind a false panel in the library, because of course there was a false panel, she found a drawer filled with papers, contracts, photographs, IDs, women's IDs, dozens of them, dating back decades, all with the same Gothic aesthetic, all with the same job descriptions scrawled on their contracts, dietary assistant, all with the same final entry, terminated, failure to perform basic duties. She wasn't special. She wasn't his dark muse or Gothic companion. She was just the latest in a long line of disposable accessories, bait for his real prey, and when hunting grounds dried up, a reserve meal with convenient delivery service. Serena closed the drawer with trembling hands. The romantic darkness she'd always craved was revealing itself as something far more banal, just another predator with just another addiction. How disappointingly human. The next morning, when the mansion fell silent with the certainty of Dorian's daytime unconsciousness, she crept to his resting place. The main coffin, Black walnut with silver filigree was locked from the inside. Smart vampire. Serena wheeled the coffin out onto the back terrace. The noontime sun beat down mercilessly, glinting off the silver embellishments of the coffin. She positioned a fire extinguisher nearby, just in case all those horror movies she'd seen were accurate. "Dorian," she called, rapping on the coffin lid. "We need to talk about my contract, specifically the termination clause." Silence. Then, "Serena?" His voice was muffled, groggy. "What time is it? What are you doing?" "Renegotiating the terms of my employment," she said smugly. "It's daylight. I can feel it. Return me to the basement immediately." Serena leaned against the coffin. "Open the lid first," she whispered softly. "Don't be absurd." Her fingers tapped out a quick rhythm on the wood. "I just want to see your face while we discuss my future with the company." Her voice mimicked every crappy manager she had ever had. "Whatever you're planning, the answer is no." Serena sighed dramatically. "I was afraid you'd say that. Why don't you chill out a bit? I'll be back in a jiff." She left the coffin in full sun while she drove to the nearest hardware store. The cashier gave her elaborate goth ensemble a curious look as she purchased an axe. "Art project," she explained with a wink. When she returned, Dorian was awake and angry. She could hear him thrashing inside the coffin. "Serena, release me this instant!" He tried to hide it, but there was panic in his voice. "I think I've been an excellent employee," she said conversationally, hefting the axe. "Punctual, dedicated, great fashion sense, but I've been thinking about my career trajectory, and frankly, I don't see a path to advancement." She swung the axe into the coffin lid. Wood splintered. "What are you doing?" Dorian shrieked. "Creating an opening in the job market." Thwack! Another chunk of wood flew off. "You know, busting through the glass ceiling." "Stop! I'll kill you for this!" She shook her head in mock disappointment. "See, that's exactly the kind of toxic workplace environment I'm trying to avoid." Whack! Sunlight pierced through the cracks and golden daggers. Smoke began to curl from inside. "Serena, please! I'm burning!" She paused, axe raised. "You should have stuck to your drinking buddies, Dorian. Never mix business with pleasure or dinner." The final blow split the coffin wide open. Dorian's scream was unholy. Part rage, part agony, all too late. Flames engulfed his body as sunlight did what it had been trying to do for centuries. Serena watched dispassionately, fire extinguisher at the ready. When there was nothing left but smoldering ash, she calmly pulled the pin and coated the remains in white foam. Then she hosed what was left of her employer into the immaculate lawn. She turned to the towering Victorian home. "Now, let's find something good for my severance package," she muttered. 1 year later. "And you swear this is all fiction?" The woman leaned across the signing table, eyes wide behind cat-eye glasses. Serena Vale, best-selling author of Happy Hour, a Gothic romance, smiled as she signed another copy with her trademark red ink. Serena's elaborate Gothic makeup was gone now, replaced by subtle elegance. "Of course, there's no such thing as vampires," she assured the fan, "but it feels so real. The details about vampire dietary restrictions alone." Serena leaned forward and whispered, "I made it all up." She tapped her temple with the pen. "Plus, after years of working in customer service, you'd be amazed how inhuman coffee shop customers can be. Some monsters, Serena had discovered, made excellent characters and better career stepping stones. Serena Vale found her salvation by seeing clearly the monster behind the mask. Remember this when darkness beckons with promises too seductive to resist, for the true predators rarely appear as fearsome beasts.